All right, we are going to conclude. We're going to go right to the book of Hosea. Was this a prophecy for a future event, the time we're living in right now, or was this a prophecy for the people of Israel for Hosea's time? And let me make this clear. Let me give you some information before we go to the book of Hosea, Hosea chapter 4, on the prophet Hosea. He was a minister to the northern kingdom of Israel, also called Ephraim, after its largest tribe. Outwardly, the nation is enjoying a time of prosperity and growth, but inwardly, moral corruption and spiritual adultery permeate the people. Hosea, instructed by God to marry a woman named Gomer, finds his domestic life to be an accurate and tragic dramatization of the unfaithfulness of God's people. This was a prophecy. Hosea 4 was a warning to the people of Israel given to the prophet Hosea. They were enjoying a time of prosperity and growth, but they became morally corrupt and got into spiritual adultery. This was a prophecy, a warning for that time period. Now, let me continue on. During his half century of prophetic ministry, Hosea repeatedly echoes his threefold message. God arbors the sins of his people. Judgment is certain, but God's loyal love stands firm. This was a warning, not for a future event, but for that time when they were experiencing uh, prosperity and growth, but they had fallen away. Be right back. All right, let's go right to the source, Hosea chapter 4. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. Ye children of Israel, not of the United States of America, not of Rome, not of Africa, not of the United Kingdom. Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel. For the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land of Israel during the time of the prophet Hosea. Because there is no truth, no mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood. I just read to you about the time period of the prophet Hosea. Now, the people of Israel were experiencing prosperity and growth, but they began to commit spiritual adultery, wickedness, and corruption by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery. They break out, and blood toucheth blood. Therefore shall the land mourn. What land? I just read to you, the land of Israel during the time of Hosea. And every one that dwelleth therein shall languish with the beast of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. Yet let no man strive nor reprove another, for thy people are as they that strive with the priest. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and you're being destroyed for lack of knowledge today. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, but thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. They were still under the law. I will also forget thy children. Be sure that you are not destroyed for lack of knowledge and rejected by the living God. This was a warning to the people of Israel for that time period. They began to prosper, and they had growth, but they began to commit spiritual adultery. They were falling away to sin. They were falling into immoral acts. And this was a warning, a prophecy by God given to the prophet Hosea for the people of Israel for that time period. I'll be right back. All right, we're going to wrap this up real quick now. Now, this comes from the Christian Monitor, and I think this will help you to understand. I like the play on words. A flockalypse now rather than apocalypse now. Turns out mass bird deaths are quite common. A flockalypse. I like that. Despite alarming headlines about dead birds plummeting from the sky, biologists say that mass die-offs happen all the time and do not necessarily mean catastrophe, either biblical or environmental, or any kind of a flockalypse. Now, I'm not going to read the entire article, but it makes a lot of sense, and I think it will make sense to you as well. First, the blackbirds fell out of the sky on New Year's Eve in Arkansas. In recent days, wildlife have mysteriously died in big numbers. 2 million fish in the Chesapeake Bay, 150 tons of red tilapia. In Vietnam, 40,000 crabs in Britain and other places across the world. Blogs connected the dots, joking about the apocalypse, while others saw real signs of something sinister, either biblical or environmental. In 2011, we watched as the birth pains, there was no question we were in the birth pains. The earthquakes, the earthquake in Japan, the 8.9, 9.0, the giant tsunami, the Fukushima disaster, the flooding, and birds falling out of the sky. But someone took that and they matched that up with the prophecy given by Hosea in Hosea chapter 4 and ran with it, and it took off. Pretty soon, everywhere you looked on the internet, on YouTube, they were talking about the animal die-offs, the fish washing ashore dead, the cattle in Vietnam, birds falling out of the sky, and this is the Hosea prophecy. It took off like wildfire. It took off like wildfire. But let me continue on here, because they have been tracking the mass animal deaths, birds falling out of the sky, fish washing ashore, since the 1970s. That's how long this has been being tracked. Now you will say, well, there's always been earthquakes. Earthquakes were spoken of by the greatest of all prophets, our Messiah, Jesus, in Matthew 24. He spoke that one of the signs would be earthquakes in diverse places. And earthquakes today are off. There's always been earthquakes, but they are off the charts. They are off the scale today. One earthquake upon another, and that is a sign that Jesus spoke of. He never spoke about birds falling out of the sky. They've been tracking mass animal die-offs since the 1970s. But like I said, this really took off. Someone ran with the Hosea prophecy, and pretty soon, everywhere you looked on YouTube, there was a video about the Hosea prophecy. On Blog Talk Radio, people were talking about the Hosea prophecy. On Facebook, someone ran with it, and it took off. Then someone decided to sell books on the Hosea prophecy. And because we want to go home, we've seen the birth pains, we bought. But let me remind you that in the courtyard of the temple, there were those who sold doves and pigeons, and the people bought as well. Make sure you're not buying in the courtyard of the temple. Remember what happened to those that bought and sold in the temple. Jesus turned over the table of the money changers. Leave me comments, everyone.